From the two tenacious journalists responsible for breaking the story of the decade. It took just days for movie mogul Harvey Weinstein to go from the most powerful man in Hollywood to international disgrace, but behind the scenes it was months and months of hard work.
Yeah, I spoke to New York Times journalists Jodie Cantor and Mgtow earlier this morning as they revealed just how they put their journalistic reputations on the line to publish the controversial and sensational revelations. We've spoken about how much was at stake for the accusers, but what about for you two personally as two journalists trying to tell a story? Did they come at you? Did they try and discredit the two of you? And you had a lot at stake.
They did. Well. They tried to dupe us. They, believe it or not, hired private Israeli ex-spies, sort of professional manipulators, to try to dupe us and get us to share the information from the investigation. They kind of took out a contract on our story where this firm would be paid hundreds of thousands of dollars if they were successful in killing our story. But to tell you the truth, even though that's very disconcerting, we were never that worried about ourselves. We're investigative reporters. We wake up in the morning and what we want to do every day is confront the powerful. We were much more concerned about our sources. They weren't all superstars. Some of them were women who don't have extraordinary resources or connections. The first woman to go on the record about Harvey Weinstein, aside from Ashley Judd, her name is Laura Madden. She lives in Swansea, Wales. She lives a very quiet life. She was a Miramax assistant many years ago. She has a very upsetting story of assault. And at the moment when she was preparing to go on the record, she was also facing breast cancer surgery, and the dates of the story and the surgery almost collided. So think about what a vulnerable moment she was in her life. We did not want her to face any kind of threat or intimidation.
It's one thing to write the story and to gather the evidence, but then for the publisher, for your bosses to print that story, do you owe them a debt of gratitude, if you like?
Absolutely. We felt their support from the first day. The pressure on us was to get the story, not to back away from the story. But it was especially in those final few crucial days before publication of the first story, when Weinstein was threatening us. He showed up at our office unexpected. He took a very bullying attitude. He had a huge cast of high-priced advisors who were fighting the story. And at that time, we could feel the institution of the New York Times rise up behind us and protect us, protect the women. And it was so moving to us to see all of the history and weight and experience of the New York Times being used to confront a bully and protect the vulnerable.
Your investigation was about the entertainment industry. How do you two find yourself now being almost part of the story?
Well, we certainly don't consider ourselves part of Hollywood. In fact, since we've returned to the newspaper from book leave, we have gone back to reporting. Within weeks of returning from our completion of the book, I was working on stories about one of the most recent women to come forward with an allegation against Donald Trump, basically an allegation that amounts to rape against Donald Trump. Jodie and I have also been are deep into reporting on Jeffrey Epstein. And so while we are taking these moments and enjoy the opportunity to talk about our book on TV and in other media outlets, we are also going back to our desks every day to continue reporting.
And clearly this article and subsequently the book has affected a change in Hollywood, or a start of one at least. Do you think it's being felt in the wider community, in hotel rooms and in insurance firms and in law firms where women find themselves attacked?
Well, what's so confounding is that everything has changed and nothing has changed. So on the one hand, we've seen a great deal of change. But on the other hand, the fundamental systems that allowed this kind of abuse to flourish have not really changed at all. The laws have been very slightly tweaked in the United States, but there has not been a kind of broad realignment.
Well, Megan and Jodie, it's been a fascinating chat. The back cover of your book says, Cantor and Tui outmaneuvered Harvey Weinstein, his team of defenders and private investigators, convincing some of the most famous women in the world and some unknown ones to go on the record. This is how they did it. That says everything. The book is called She Said. Thank you for your time this morning. Extraordinary journalists, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that this is the last line of the acknowledgements. To our daughters and to yours, may you know respect and dignity always in the workplace and beyond.
Yeah, powerful words.
Extraordinary work.
We'll be back right after this.